Ayo, eyes.
I thought I was done rhyming, but had to bring it back. Like Jordan in 45 on my motorbike cap. Prove that hip-hop lives, they deceived you with rap. Deceived you with language, deceived you with maps. Deceived you with civil rights, abandoned the human ones. No rights for child abuse by the pedophilians. Hope making visits to apologize to natives who really are the foreigners. Watch the pre-shapeshift, change form. We call him he, she, him, her. To make the Babylon fall with no timber. Got to stretch daily, keep the joints limber. Even Kareem name corrected from our cinder. You can't hide truth from a hardcore student. Black means death in the science of jurisprudence. In law, that's black status, dead civilly. All mores are active, no passivity. No matter what you said, don't care what you saw. You're not gonna get me to say I'm not a Moor. No matter what you show or told me before, you're not gonna get me to say I'm not a Moor. No matter the games you play, no matter the score, you're not gonna get me to say I'm not a Moor. No matter if he's killed a cop, shattered his jaw, you're not gonna get me to say I'm not a Moor. 101 questions, multiple lessons. Study like a super nerd, late night sessions. Finding out so much facts, how are you in doubt? Drew Ali brought you something to yell and shout about. If they're not convinced, their minds probably mince. But if they persist, pass a book like an assist. Most books I gave out never got returned, but got cases adjourned and ignorance unlearned. Got the debt discharged, collection took a settlement. Credit card company guilty of fraud, negligence. Standing on the square, no attorney to represent. A firm never swear, feathers up, I'm not Methodist. Great Seal medallion, crystal beads mala. Riding with Killmonger, CIA owned T'Challa. Be careful where you walk more, watch for disaster. My teacher's still a master on the platform of a pastor. No matter what you said, don't care what you saw, you're not gonna get me to say I'm not a Moor. No matter what you show or told me before, you're not gonna get me to say I'm not a Moor. No matter the games you play, no matter the score, you're not gonna get me to say I'm not a Moor. No matter if he's killed a cop, shattered his jaw, you're not gonna get me to say I'm not a Moor. Honest to the prophet, Drew Ali, not Bristol. Don't worry what they say loud, but what they whisper. Spies everywhere tell me, you're calling it snitching. Energy talks loud, I knew from the beginning. Mothers who they trusted told me he was tripping. All the honey dipping, their own grave they're digging. Listen, I'm not new to this, I had the best tutorship. Morris Science Temple, Adept Chamber rulership. Big brothers and clan mothers taught me the ways. What time to sun gauge, truism cliches. Taboo hidden meanings, feelings of visitors. Most remain picketers and stay on perimeters. In our chat solicitors, lower self prisoners. Confused listeners, sold to inquisitors. Colorable terms, respondent and petitioners. Challenge jurisdiction of the CRA commissioner. No matter what you said, don't care what you saw, you're not gonna get me to say I'm not a Moor. No matter what you show or told me before, you're not gonna get me to say I'm not a Moor. No matter the games you play, no matter the score, you're not gonna get me to say I'm not a Moor. No matter if he's killed a cop, shattered his jaw, you're not gonna get me to say I'm not a Moor.
This is all 9 lives, synchronized in perfect step, time after time, averting certain death before you leave. Must relieve karmic debt, which beget this war within us. RC Tech best, dust off records, our forebearers left. Put the needle to the groove, return to their mindset. Download begins, rewind cassette. Time is death, so then kill your clocks. This the will of Allah, filling you all to the rim and then some till it spills and it falls over all facets of the masses. Transactions composed in maxims, revising your cannons. Drove past heaven, it was littered with abandoned mansions. Where adverse possessed like 5 or 6. Gave them back the addresses. I got family moving in. Forget the madness, let the reversion begin.
Drew Ali the mastermind, other leaders asinine. Never dropping facts, use emotions to pass the time, never make it on my shrine. Kundalini up the spine, halo glow the aftershine. Make you see the sign of times, beeline to bloodline. Aquarian age flood mines, rhyme like a plumb line. Sometimes it's bud time, rock mid-range deadly, all around the foul line. Playback on front line, Moorish is my guideline. Step and cause a fault line, throw your service offline. Watch them get outshine, cross me like a state line, get cut like a break line. F you and your concubine, strangle with a fishing line. When I help is genuine, always from the heart, all chakras are intertwined. Self you must redefine, more from the civil line, not the clandestine. Stake a vamp at chest line, sun stay stationary, shadow left behind. Say you don't want to, not that you have no sign. See good in everything and how you must train the mind. Give out some love and find peace sublime. Water and the key lime keeps the body alkaline. Law should remain divine, not too much maritime. Get all 13 journals of the Moorish paradigm. Israelites from Sarah line, my path is the narrow line. Thought you had the upper hand, I saw it like a tarot line.
I'm painting with the big P in game 6. Unity about as crucial as game 6 of the finals. I'm glowing like I won the title, but Ellen Beta noble titles. Don't worship humans, that's a false idol. Heavenly vibes coming from my recital. Middle fingers to connivers and instigators. The truth to revive you like the liberators. So this a pump to the chest. Utilize what's useful and throw away the rest. My vegan ways have put the beef to rest. My calling got directed like receptionist. So think mother every time you see a crest. The Moors is here to put that bullshit to rest. So think mother every time you see a crest. The Moors is here to bring that bullshit to rest.
When I step in the center, they can tell I'm a winner, live my life right. Thank God, Lord, I'm not a sinner, live my life like I'm passing through time. Disastrous crimes, you killing up my people, I'm asking you back is why. You feeling the energy rise? Because we open the eyes, we see the open skies and all them cop picking lies. That's how I battle enemies, I be using my energy. I move like the centipede, in the mirror see enemy. Pay attention to tendencies, trying to mess up the chemistry. We can be one big family. I do it for the nation. How many gon' stand with me? I got the prophet up front and you're mad at me. Can't love a man that look like you, but it's sad to see. I'm just acting like the children watching and it has to be. Nationality got me feeling like a dad to beat. Grass sheep provide the beat and I just had to bring the heat. Khalifa society, Canaanland Moors, Moorish connection, rise of the Moors, 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 Moors.
Title is Glad you is a Montana way. Death cousin has a slave, so a prophet said to take you from the care to I lay. Title is now solid as a rock, that ain't Hudson Bay. Them are Morris docks, everything L. 9 drops from ya, well I'm from yourself. The who's blank, I'm not. She's out the water, the bank sprung up. With unsalvation now, you can't stand up. In the womb there's scars, arms, 2 legs, arm heads, none for them, of us. Humanity, corpus, Marcus was the harbinger. Ali came forth from ya. The great meeting is on. I see the crescent of the Dragon Ball one up. Dive into the 101. Oh man, you won up. L, realign with yourself, how you up? What up? 2 rips, what you shaking? You forming the trust. Wait, or it's your funeral. You arming with libraries, or it's Corbin. The title is Glad you is a Montana way. That cousin has a slave, so a prophet said to take it from the care to I lay. Now solid as a rock, that ain't Hudson Bay. Them are Morris docks, everything L.
Matriarch rules, spirit lessons, watch patriarch fools telling you man is God when the creator is you. The mud you made man from is really the womb. Feminism got you single and trying to be your groom. The prophet held you in his arms, turban with a plume. Told you be yourself, your face wearing a costume. Waving your fake fingernails and flipping your fake hair. Never on time, paying late fees for daycare. Blaming dad, trying to be right, not the fact you're a dyke. Keep Your male sons childlike and life dream like 800 note phones, massaging dicks for those from lower self to higher self. It's just a stone's throw. If I'm a star, then God is, you are a universe. I'm your helper, you are the God and the earth. You are the yin, I am the yang that came from yin. We all came from her. Civilization is feminine. She is nature, intuition, wisdom, and compassion. Woman's highest calling lead man to his soul's passion, and man's highest calling is to protect her. Not when she talks, dismissing intellect as conjecture.
The title is Glad you is a mind time to wait. That cousin has a sleep, so a prophet said to take it from the kids who I laid. Title is now solid as a rock, that ain't Hudson Bay. Them are Morris docks, everything else.
I'm a Moor, 10 toes down on my square, yeah. To get here, you might need a couple stairs, yeah. Walk through the darkness to get to the light, yeah. I enforce law all by myself, yeah. With no cameras, no gimmicks, cause this is real life, people. I don't take pictures. You can deal with the facts or love fiction. You identify with black, you know something's missing. Where your flag, where your nation, ain't something missing. Here's mine right in front of me, and it was hitting. We were taken from Africa, that's bull listen. Cause we was right in America before Christians. And I'm Moorish American, I'm so gifted. I don't need marijuana to get you lifted. That's what I do for humanity, don't get me twisted. The Inquisition control, you've been calling business. I call it treason, the reason I'm so relentless.
Title is Glad you is a mind time to wait. That cousin has to sleep, so the prophet said to take it from the kids who I laid. Now solid as a rock, that ain't Hudson Bay. Them are Morris docks, everything else.
Arm, leg, arm, head. Mama, meditate, laying in my bed with my mala. I self-law, a master, Allah. Nearest place to me, there is the heart. Love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, what we follow. Egg of life transform, turn into the flower. Tree of life, man's form, learn the Kabbalah. See through the sandstorm, move like impalas. Follow Drew Ali's model, yeah, we them street scholars. We don't pop bottles and we don't pop collars. Hand on the throttle every second, minute, hour. Rhythm, vibration, words, sound and power. Perfumes and sensation, flesh has devoured. Took its final station, now the sweet smell sour. Always practice patience in heat, never power. Here to free with puns, L from the tower. Let your hair down.
The title is Glad you is a mind time to wait. That cousin has to sleep, so the prophet said to take it from the kids who I laid. Now solid as a rock, that ain't Hudson Bay. Them are Morris docks, everything else.
This is what it feels like. 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 People running up to me that I don't know. Are you a prince? They ask, tell them I'm from Morocco. Look me up and down with a smile, not a frown. Turn their brain to water, watch the lower self drown. Wanna touch my antennas and steal my energy. Eyes bulge, telling them I'm always King Edward V. When it comes to facts, with most they get beggarly. They ask Morocco where? The farthest northwesterly. With every question asked, I respond cleverly. All dependents, one explained expertly. Going in their wallets, pull out pictures with feathers, break breaking down the ring, then the mason confesses. He's at 33 degrees, now the convo stretches like yoga into esoteric metaphysic lessons. When my people aren't like me, he impresses. When we take more science to the highways and hedges, this is what it feels like. This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like.
They tried to get you to think again. That's the profit. I'm upright, don't need a friend. And you can't stop this. I'ma write with my pen. Violate me and I'ma sentence again. Remain cautious, cause often it's in the again. That's in the police out, just the silence men. When they bust through your door, you won't breathe again. Nationality will show you how to live again. It can change the predicament you're living in. You can heal the whole world without medicine. Only truth can make you a better man. Why lie? Cause you got paid to murder men. Then you try to lock them up when they riot in. That's okay, cause for freedom I'm diving in. With no knowledge, you come back to die again. Resurrect me not, cause I'd rather be one with Allah.
This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like.
Oh yeah. This Saturday, this Saturday we're going in with the Moors near Phoenix for the Love, Truth, Peace, Freedom, Justice tour. You already know. Islam to all the Moors worldwide. Islam to all the Moors worldwide. Honors to you. Give yourself your round of applause. Give yourself your flowers for knowing about your nationality and your birthrights. Welcome, Wednesday Q&A. If you have questions, email them to canaanlandguide@gmail.com. canaanlandguide@gmail.com. This is where we are every Wednesday. Every Wednesday. This is where we're at. Quick story. Take your time more. We're good. Quick story. So years back, we used to bring the brother, the Black Dot, out here to do hip hop lectures, youth lectures, right? We got connected to him because one of the Moors, while we were doing our Negro, Black, Colored, whatever, went to New York and he bumped into Frank Gary. And he got all these DVDs from Frank Gary. So we bring back the DVDs, you know, we're watching DVDs crazy. Like just as soon as they come out, put in another one. You know what I mean? Falling asleep, waking up, and all that type of stuff. Yeah, so we're going through all these DVDs, because you know we're on the wave of, you know, yo, this what these brothers are doing with the knowledge in New York. They're like selling DVDs and stuff like that, selling lectures, right? Everything converting to DVD from video cassette, right? So that everybody, you name them, they had them. So we come back with the vault of, you know, the DVDs. Right? We come back with the vault. So over the years, you know, going through DVDs, we tell the story of when we first got the Moorish DVDs, and we seen the brothers with the red hats were Negro black colored, or like, what the hell is that? Like, what are they wearing that for? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what's going on with that. Put those DVDs over there. We told a story about those DVDs. So, so what really tapped us in was Bobby Hemmett and Phil Valentine DVDs. So Bobby Hemmett and Phil Valentine DVDs back then were crazy. If you think this stuff you have on YouTube is where it's at, somebody's been playing you. Crazy playing you. Because when you were at the lectures, it was a whole different thing. And then, like I'm saying, it became a market where we're going to sell these. We're going to get the consciousness out by having DVDs and selling them of the lectures, you know, which they're allowed to do because they're the ones that's setting up the lecture or whatever, right? So we're like, yo, this is a good pattern or whatever. So we're going to do this stuff here. So we brought all these people, the Black Dot, you know, Professor Griff, Sister Sakina, Boyd Graves, and we brought people here. You know what I mean? There's even the border story, the A.A. Rashid border story. That if anybody knows A.A. Rashid, go ask him about trying to come here for the lecture, and then we had to do the lecture over the phone. That was crazy. So crazy stories, right? So we're on the Bobby Hemmett, you know, Delbert Blair, Phil Valentine, you know, Brother Dawood, you know, like you know, consciousness, but above the regular Henry Clark, Dr. Ben, whatever, you know what I mean? A different level. You know what I mean? This is sort of where it seems like we need to be, opposed to in this history, whatever, you know, dealing with the metaphysics and all that. So one of the DVDs, right? One of the DVDs was this brother sitting on a couch, and then there's Egyptian figurines and stuff, you know what I mean? And you know, when we first put it in, like, you know, check this out, see what's good, you know. And it was even closer to where we thought we had to be based on, you know, this consciousness wave and you know, being awakened and whatever. This more hit the nail on the head more than a lot of people, right? That were heavy, right? So Black Dot had a hip hop conference. Had a hip hop conference, wanted me to perform at it. And then at this is where on the intro of the first Iron Sheik album, when we have Sa Netter as the intro to the album, right? That intro came from the fact that went there to perform and then to move the little CDs that we had, you know, just putting out what we do, you know, and him giving him some CDs personally, like, hey, take these, use these for whatever you want. You know what I mean? This is just our music, whatever, right? So he called me up, left me a message, and then the message is the intro to the album, right? So go there, kill the show. And then what stood out was this more from the video. That's the more from the video. You know when you get the thing from Moors who met Taj for the first time after seeing him on video? You know that thing that you get when you see him and you're actually sitting in the lecture and you're looking at him, you're like, yo, this is actually him in the freaking, that's not the video right now, right? So that's what we got. You know, and then I'm on the stage and I'm doing the performance and I'm looking at in the crowd and, you know, people are feeling it. You know what I mean? It wasn't a dead show. Like people were feeling it, you know? And then that is why you got Iron Sheik 8, you got all the Moorish MCs that you hear of or whatever like that, all that is because of this Moor and the Black Dot, because this Moor comes from the realm of, because everything is crazy people that you get to meet when you get into the Moorish paradigm, right? But when we came up, right, our little crew, when we came up, right, while people were on Wu-Tang, we were on boot camp. Right? While people were riding Wu-Tang, we were on boot camp. We're like, forget that. We're on boot camp. We're just boot camp. That's it. You know what I mean? And then to find out that this Moor, new buckshot and all that stuff, we're like, oh yeah, this is definitely something aligned. This is definitely something aligned. You know what I mean? So saying all that to say, today, the Q&A, we're going to run our Q&A, but we have a special guest for our Q&A today. And the Moors already know what's up. People who really don't know, you're about to get something because it's going to be Q&A. Right, we already got some questions emailed. You already know how it goes on our channel. So let me just get the questions, and I'll just let the Moor have the floor for I don't know, 5 minutes while I just get these questions together.
Islam. Peace, Mo.
Islam Duke, what's good, Moor?
What's up? Great to hear from you, man. Love to everybody out in Canaanland. Love to everybody out in the Moorish diaspora, the Moorish paradigm. Definitely want to give respect and honors to the Prophet and to his temples and everybody that's striving to live according to the divine creed. You know what I'm saying? Love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality. We definitely want to give respect and honors to that. And again, man, thanks for having me out, man. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, as well as the continued support for the work and everything over the years. We've seen a lot of different so-called Moorish groups come and go. You know what I mean? However, the cream always rises to the top, and that which is supposed to have sustainability is going to sustain itself. So, honest to you for keeping your stances and holding your community down. You know what I mean, as best as you can, as well as all of the others that are striving to do the same, inshallah.
Yes, and as well too, we also have to recognize, even from back then, right, that you were always repping with your matriarch. So honors to the Empress.
Honest to the yep.
It's probably more than 10,000 years now. We have probably changed it.
Word. Definitely right about that. You're right. But yeah, man, honestly, because if it wasn't for her, I don't know. You know what I mean? Where I would be with it, and having someone consistently grow in the lifestyle that we have for all of these years. It can be a lot. However, when you are really together for the principles and for the fact of seeing the divine light in one another, it makes it a lot easier, despite what may come and little pitfalls that might present themselves. You know what I mean, during the course of your journey. So, honest to everybody that's been in long-term relationships, because they're needed. You know what I mean. Our community is very, very. Unfortunately, it can be somewhat fractured at different points. However, what keeps it together is the relationship and the love between the Moabites and, the nobles. So I always want to give honest side. Like in that video you mentioned, when we were in the crib and all that, like that was like really one of the first times. And even then, she was doing them, taking care and feeding everybody, and you know what I mean? So definitely we want to give respect and honors to all of the Moabites that have been holding us down and holding their families down, you know what I mean, for as long as they have been, because if it wasn't for them, a lot of us wouldn't be able to sustain,
Islam.
Wow.
So yeah, first question. What do you think with all the different factions of the MSTA not being able to unify under one prophet, Noble Drew Ali, is the impression that imparts upon nations of the earth, whoever public officials, public in general, etc.
I think the main issue of the disunification came at the close of the original temple. You know what I mean? Like once the man was gone, it was now left to those who were sent or who were supposed to carry on the paradigm and carry on the nation. However, other people had other agendas, you know, and those agendas became paramount more than holding everything together. So once I would say the resurrected prophet came, and then you know the C. Kirkman faction was there, and it got reduced. You know what I mean? The original aspect of the temple really dwindled down, just the same way the prophet said it would, and it dwindled down to a handful who would be going to Sister Delia, I believe her name is Delia L's home, and those Moors kept it going all the way up to carrying on what Emily was handed, you know. However, a lot of people didn't want to agree with him for whatever their personal reasons or agendas were. And so those who had more of a grandiose, open nature for it, they became the ones that became more known. And so they started to unfortunately try to castigate the original faction or the original movement. And it's been somewhat in that state ever since, you know. None of us in this modern era was here when that happened, and those elders that were at the first temple that I've spoken to all have told me kind of the same thing. You know what I mean? Like there was definitely an agenda to move things in an adjacent, I won't even say a different direction, but maybe an adjacent direction that may not have been what the original founder wanted. However, you could give a man a book, but you can't make him read, you know? So you gotta sometimes kind of step back. And I think that's what happened to a lot of the original members. They kind of stepped back and watched the prophecy of what would happen when the temple closed. Watch it actually unfold, just like he said it would. So in a certain way, it still is a part of the divine plan. You know what I mean? It's just that what that did was create a wedge between the ability for the people to come together in a more cohesive manner, due to the fact that now that the prophet was gone, they had their own almost versions of that prophet. You know what I mean? And in that, some of them wanted to bring things into it based upon them wanting to expand it in how they saw fit. So that's kind of like what has happened up to this day. You know what I mean? You get a lot of different interpretations of the same doctrine. However, that's the fallacy, that's the unfortunate pattern that happens to basically every so-called movement that has come on earth after the original so-called founder left. Like some of these movements, the founder wasn't even what the movements actually became known as after that. You know what I mean? Like Yeshua wasn't a Christian. You know what I mean? Buddha wasn't a Buddhist. You know what I'm saying? Muhammad wasn't a Muslim per se. Like these are things that were recorded after by people compiling different things. However, that wasn't necessarily what the prophet did. In my understanding, he brought forth a certain understanding of us as manifestations of the divine, you know what I mean, being brought into flesh, and then being able to access that divinity through love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality. Love being the primary source or the primary foundation of the movement itself. You know what I mean? However, if you don't love yourself and you have issues with aspects of that, you can't expect people to somehow miraculously bring that into their being. You know what I mean? Some people are just cross and they think that they're about it. You know what I mean? But however, a lot of that begins to change once they're put in positions to have to actually exhibit that in a consistent manner. You know what I mean? As he said, the man is the truth and falsehood strangely mixed. You know what I mean? And that's, to me, been the issue in the so-called disunity or the pseudo competitions that happens between the various temples or the various movements, you know, who want to take elements of what the man brought, but they don't want to deal with the whole thing. You know what I mean? They want to deal with the parts that they want to deal with.
Well, pardon the interjection, Mark, because that leads right into the other question. What does it take for Moors to unite and not be labeled as the Moorish American sovereign citizens?
Well, sovereign citizenship has nothing to do with Moors at all. The Moorish Science Temple of America, Divine and National Movement. The Divine and National Movement is the organ back to the old Moorish Empire. So when you say Divine and National Movement, that's basically you activating us as remnants of that. And the Moorish Science Temple of America predates even the Kingdom of Morocco. You know what I'm saying? The town of Morocco in Illinois is even older than that. So the term sovereign citizen came from, or what we perceive it now, is really a white supremacist patriot movement that itself was initiated by a Jesuit priest who also happened to be named, I believe it's William Gale, I believe his name is, and he was a white supremacist Jesuit priest who, during World War II, was the attaché and first aide to MacArthur. Okay, so I don't know how you go from being in MacArthur, you know, being in the federal government, in the army, coming up through the intelligence services, because you got to get, you know, cleared and security clearance and all of that for you to be next to MacArthur. Like, you know what I'm saying? The so-called liberator or conqueror of the Philippines in the modern era. And he goes from that to being a tax protester, and then eventually heading up the so-called Aryan white supremacists. But all of this came, but him and that whole idea came out of Southern California, and at the time, Southern California was a hotbed of intelligence agencies and Freemason occult groups, such as the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, NASA, the Grand Orientalis, Scientology. They was all up in there. The Presidio, where Michael Aquino, who was the head of psychological operations, MK Ultra, who himself founded the Temple of Set after he got out. So Michael Aquino does all of that. He sets up the Temple of Set. This dude, Gale, goes out, sets up the white supremacist, so-called patriot, so-called sovereign citizen movement, right? Jet Propulsion Laboratories lead to the Babylon working, you know what I mean, which was a heavy occult ritual that involved L. Ron Hubbard, who again started the Church of Scientology. He was also a science fiction writer. You see what I'm saying? So that really had nothing to do with the Moorish movement. What happened was, in my research at least, he came across, there was a cross section of opportunists coming through what they call the People's Temple through Jim Jones and their relationship with the Nation of Islam. Because Jim Jones used to speak at the Nation of Islam events and all of that. People don't know that, or people should know that. And that introduction is what laid the groundwork for them to eventually get hooked up with the Church of Scientology. You see what I'm saying? And started getting into the audits and all of that. And then they started to use a lot of these, some of these members of NOI and all of that to help start to bring forth what they call the Black Liberation Theology movement through a guy named Jeremiah X, who eventually changed his name to Jeremiah Wright, and then started the Black Liberation Theology Church. Well, it wasn't called that, but that was the idea, which then was coming at the piggyback of the whole pseudo Black Panther-esque movement that was systematically infiltrated and destroyed, and which other movements from that created that subdivision, because you had Black Freemasons, white Freemasons, and then those on the underlying of that who were into the occult that were now working through the intelligence agencies to keep all of these movements kind of in play. So by the time it trickled down to the Moors, somewhere in the late 70s, early 80s, that's when you start getting into a lot of the rhetoric that was coming from that. And then by the late 90s, you get books like The Matrix by Valdo Valerian. You get books like The Matrix by Valdo Valerian. And then you had another one called Cracking the Code. And the Cracking the Code, when that hit the joint, that was like the mid 80s. That was like 94, 95. So I got Knowledge of Self probably around 97. Well, around the same time, but like I wasn't like totally active, I think, until like 96, like right the year before my eldest son was born. And then started really getting into that, really understanding, going into it. And then from there, we started to realize that there were elements to this that really were more about the financial hidden hand that was basically funding all of these different so-called groups that were so-called against each other, but low-key at the very top, all working together. You know what I'm saying? Which created a vacuum in which a lot of brothers and sisters got caught up in that, and thus started putting themselves into certain positions, and then started basically carrying out some of that. Somewhere around then this thing called, then you had a bunch of liberal communist type groups that were funded by the JDL, one of them being the Southern Poverty Law Center, in which now they would use that as the linchpin to slowly tie all of these little fake groups together. However, the majority, if not according to the so-called FBI statistics and all that, 85 or 95% of these so-called sovereign citizens are all still so-called white supremacists, you know what I mean, part of the Aryan nation and all that. That's why they have to make a distinction when they say Moorish sovereign citizens, you see what I'm saying? Because the Moorish Temple of America, the Divine National Movement, has nothing to do with that, you know what I mean? Like the Moors, again, about freedom, justice, and equality. They're about civics. They're about jurisprudence. They're about treaty law, stuff like that, constitutional understanding, you know what I mean? So to circumvent a deeper understanding of that, you see, and to stop Moors from establishing proper legations and things like that to deal on an international level, they bring it down to the brass tacks of what the Patriots deal with, which is like the license plates, the this, the that, and then kind of gassing people. And then you have different people within the movement, Moorish movement, who then start to create delusions of grandeur with it by saying, oh, well, this don't apply to you, so you ain't got to do this. So then it gives the people the understanding that, hey, I got to suspend the license. I don't got to do nothing with that. You see what I'm saying? I don't got to clear that up. I could just move into this. You did? And then it creates a sieve, whirlpool, where people get sucked up into it. And then, you know, they wind up getting caught up and then getting brought back into the Negro, black, and color thing due to what it is that they've misunderstood about it. You know what I mean? Like the prophet never talked about any of that. Come on, can you take them in your room? Please. You ain't never got into any of that. Moors was not dealing with that. They just became part of that because they thought, some Moors thought that it was an easy way out of actually having to take responsibility and going to actually declare who and what they are to the powers that be in the mild mannered tone that the prophet said he was supposed to get the favorable reply. They'd rather just, freak the stamps and mail all of this to all of these different people and all of that, who once they get it, they don't even acknowledge it like that. Matter of fact, they even create fake laws like the Paper Terrorism Act and all of that to circumvent people from having to read what these things are. They even created technology to be able to read whether something was cut and pasted, so that way it gives them another out not to do it, which then dulls what they say luxury. Is a Moorish saying that says luxury dulls the edge of husbandry. So the more people think that it's so easy to just, do certain things, the more they get caught up based upon the aspect of the leisure that they think and the lax nature of it, when it's really more about how you are internally. Because once you establish who you are on the internal basis, then you know how you want to be built with on the external. Whereas they're doing the opposite. They think that they can externally do things, but then internally they still in conflict. And that destroys it, because a universal law is a universal law, period. You know what I mean? And our people don't really understand the karmic, well, I don't even want to say that, because that's subjective too. But our people don't want to always deal with the consequences of not understanding something thoroughly before they put themselves into it, based upon what they see on the internet, based upon...
Say that again.
Moors don't really want to take into account the consequences of involving themselves in things that they don't properly understand before just throwing themselves into it and then, wind up having to deal with it. The external consequences of that, because they believe that because this person said that and that person said that, that it is such. However, the Circle 7 say man knows not from being told. You know what I mean? You got to know within yourself and be able to discern what they say. You got to chew the meat and spit out the bones. Like, you don't ingest all. You know what I mean? Not all of that is things. So there may be certain elements that are consistent between, let's say, how a white supremacist might look at something and how a conscious person may look at something, right? However, one has nothing really to do with the other. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, like, you could be a white supremacist, you could be a Moor, you could be a Hebrew, you could be this, you could be that. However, if you're a father, most fathers want to see their children have a better way of life, right? So that's one thing that, even though we're at political odds, ideological odds, things like that, that's one thing that everybody can agree with. You know what I mean? So long as you're not involved in, certain sacrificial orders and things like that, and you offering up sacrifices to come up like that, then you don't really care about nobody. However, there's certain universal things that everybody want. Everybody want to protect their wife. Everybody want to have a good way of living with the least amount of conflict as possible, right? That's what I think. You know what I mean? However, a lot of people look at everything through their ego. And the ego is not real. That's just the physical representation of a fight or flight circumstance that gives you the ability to have a certain degree of precognizance in the physical world. But the highest element of the ego is the instinct. You know what I mean? And the instinct is that which is really sets you on the path of the right. Because your instinct is above the ego. So it's really the super self looking down and all of that. But the ego, if you believe that that's you, then you're going to ignore your instinct and you're going to involve yourself with stuff that you don't have nothing to deal with. You know what I mean?
Yes. The next question was, if Allah is a feminine name, why is Allah referred to as Father?
So this is why the prophet was wise in making the distinction between, you know what I mean, Mohammed and Muhammad, you know, and the Quran with a K and the Quran with the Q, you know what I mean? And I saw one master as the divine principle of Islam, right? As opposed to the blind faith Arab version, who rallied around the god or goddess that they referred to as Allah, who was just one of the 365 idols that they was worshiping at the cube that they referred to at the Saturnian cube that they referred to as the Kaaba, you know. If you go into history and you read books like The Golden Age of the Moor and The Golden Trade of the Moors, The Secrets of the Alhambra, and you would realize that there was a distinct separation that came from those Moors that were one from over here. There's another book you can get called The Algonquin Conquest of the Mediterranean Region in 11,500 by Samuel Pope. And you'll see that most of what we understand as civilization that came up from Europa was brought by people that was already from over here, because we existed when the whole thing was connected. And after the great cataclysm, when everything kind of got separated, we then started using the oceans as rivers to go back and reestablish the colony and the colony civilizations that we were responsible for establishing. So by the 7th century, when you get the push out of what they refer to as Arabia over there, you get a distinct separation between those Moors who were again descended from those so-called ancient, so-called Egyptians, Carthaginians, Numidians, Garamantians, Gaetulians, Scythians, or Scythians, excuse me, Mauryans, right? You had a conglomeration of knowledge, wisdom, understanding that moved further out into what we now call what they call Europa, which we call West Asia, what they now refer to, what we also start referring to as Tartary, right, or Tartaria. And then you also have those of us that were still all the way over here in what they refer to as Barbaria, right? Because back then, when you look at some of those old maps, all you see on it is Asia, Europa, and so-called Africa. We totally shut this part of the world away from them. Our part, North, Central, and South America. Like there's certain maps, especially around the time of Genghis and Tamerlane and all of that, where this was a place where it was almost like myth. You know what I mean? Like they didn't know. So they were always striving to find a way back over here, back to the 7 cities of Cibola and all of that. So that heavy push into Europa and all of that is what allowed the European nations to actually come into existence. These European nations that were actually Romans, you know what I'm saying? And allowed them a certain degree of understanding. So those so-called pale Arabs, who themselves were indoctrinated also by the Romans, were looking to establish their own paradigm and their own way of practicing what they understood so-called the life culture of Islam to be. And so they took one of the idols, which was Allah, right? And another one called Alat, right? And they combined them. Like the statue of, I'll send it to you after class. There's a statue of their version of what Allah is. Because see, Allah to us was always the arm, leg, arm, head, the divine aspect of man. But see, our version or our understanding of Islam, they refer to as syncretic Islam, like the traditional so-called Shia and Sunni and them type of people. You see what I'm saying? They believe in that. They believe in this by blood. That's why he had to establish their version of it through war. You know what I mean? Through murder, through killing. You know what I mean? They want to act like they was totally, beneficial or what's the word? That they were totally not malevolent. However, the gods that they were now consolidating into one God, he demanded sacrifice. This is why after they somewhat established their version of it, this is why they started to then try to push themselves further into Egypt, further into Yemen, further into all of these areas, and then take the males, you see what I'm saying? The melanated males, castrate them, take their women, you see what I'm saying? Force them to have babies with them, chain them to Qurans and all this type of stuff. You see what I'm saying? Whereas when you go to ancient Mali and the Mandates and all that, they wasn't doing none of that. The women were doctors. The women had, you understand? They were practicing equality. They were the true scholars. We're the ones that brought all of the civilization. You see what I'm saying? These guys came through by the time they was done, most of Arabia was a desert again. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, in places like Andalusia over there, or even some of the Roman kingdoms that fell under the sway of the Moorish Empire, because these are all melanated people. They benefited and they were able to establish great kingdoms for themselves, like Galatia and Eboracum and Burgundy, the Holy Roman Empire, like all of these guys. You know what I'm saying? Like they're benefiting from all of this, from our thing. So eventually they got to get rid of them too. You see what I'm saying? When you read the story of the Moors by Stanley Lane Poole, he says the majority of the fighting took place at the very towards the end, because most of the people were so done with the Visigoths and these savages, these wood wolves, dog-headed people trying to control and extort them and all that. They was happy to see the Moors come in there. You know what I mean? And look what they did. Look what we did for 1,000 years, which happened to coincide with the so-called millennial reign that they say Yeshua brought back on earth. That's why when you look at Moors, like that old picture of the Moorish chief with the white, and he's standing in the doorway. He's like a giant. He's the same size as the archways behind him. You know what I mean? But we're looking at it from different view. And if you look at how he's dressed exactly the way Yeshua used to be dressed in all of these pictures. We're the only ones that look like that, because we're the ones that allowed everybody to live in harmony. Now, towards the end, when the Moors started to lose their noble nature, that's when you start, seeing the decline of that, because now they're interbreeding and now they're focusing less on the expansion of civilization into the higher dimensions. And now they are now trying to get more internal and more physical land, and then incorporating these what I would say Terran versions of Islam, which again is the stuff we broke away from. That's how you get people like Al-Mansur coming through and eventually like converting to their version of Islam, and then trying to fight against the traditional Ansaratic Moors, which then led to what eventually led to the expulsion. So the version of Allah or Allat, which again was an idol that they were using to shield what they were dealing with, is what they still dealing with. Like the Moors ain't out here, setting up governments like Hamas and Al Qaeda and Boko Haram and all of that, and doing honor killings, and we ain't doing none of that. That's the Sunnis and the Shias and them type of people. You see what I'm saying? Radicalized by the romanticized version of what they believe Islam to be, based upon somebody who, had questionable beginnings in the establishment of what it is they believe him to be. So that really has nothing to do with us. That's why our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, was able to do what he did without killing nobody. See what I'm saying? Because the foundation of what he brought was, again, love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality. The foundation of the Sunni and the Shia version of Islam that they practice is all about submission, right? Buddha's whole thing is all about enlightenment. Where's the love at in that? You don't gotta have no love to be enlightened, right? Actually, he's saying that the best thing in life that you can achieve is suffering. Like, what? You know what I mean? Which to me is also a perversion of his teachings, because the original Buddha or Siddhartha Gautama that we read about is totally different in the Circle 7 and all that. You know what I mean? He was dealing with some whole other stuff. All of that got converted once they stopped making him look in his original color and started making him look white or yellow or whatever it is they do. And they start changing it up. Same thing with Yeshua. You know what I mean? His thing was about choosing what it is that you're going to be, repenting. You see what I'm saying? Having faith in that which is unseen, which is again the basis of the Piscean age that he was in. Yet he spoke about a people that was yet to come. You see what I'm saying? That was going to come after him and set things right. You know what I mean? That's the whole Son of Man thing. Whereas, what's the other one? The Hindus, you see what I'm saying? Like, they deal with all of this ancient, idol worship type stuff. You know what I mean? And even their God, all their gods is all originally melanated or blue or green or whatever. And they switched all of that up, to which now anybody that's darker skinned in they thing is referred to as a Dalit, which means to delete, which is where we get the word delete from. So the internalized racism of moving the world against the melanated so-called saviors has been the basis of every so-called religion or ecclesiastical trust except ours. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, again, we know that Allah dwells within the heart, that the arm, leg, arm, head is the symbolic nature and the physical form of which that which is the higher self has chosen to take in order to act as a beacon for those who are living a beast way of life. You know what I mean? Which is why it was adopted by the nation of gods and earth through the Father Allah, peace unto him. And he basically was bringing back the same type of moral science that the prophets talking about, but just in the time that he was building with. He brought them a language. He gave them a alphabet numeric system. He gave them the headdresses with the tassels, right? He gave them the Circle 7, right? So Moors, true Moors, we see the correlation, we see the pattern recognition in all of it. That's why we could draw it all up, you know what I mean? As a fine, almost perfume, and then blow out the sweet essence of it and allow these people to be what they want to be. Like, we Moors, we're not supposed to be out here converting nobody to this. You either are attracted to this or you're not. Because the magnetic is very strong, but it's hard to maintain that magnetic when you have a certain repulsion field within you. And, this is why we don't worship idols. This is why we're not even supposed to worship Noble Jali. He never said worship him. He said imitate me. You know what I'm saying? He ain't never asked nobody to do no blood sacrifices and all that shit. Anytime that you heard people do like that, and when you read the FBI reports, that was people who were already indoctrinated due to what happened after he left. So if they wouldn't even accept the love that he was giving them, why would we expect them to hear what we saying today? Because it ain't about that. It ain't about trying to convert and bring people into moral science and all of that. They're going to come to it regardless, whether we talk about it or try to convince them to it or not. But we're not supposed to do that. They're supposed to find it within themselves and then find noble Moors that can help educate them into that. But to do all of that, you got to have a certain degree of love for self and your people, and a lot of us don't.
I hear that. Islam. The next question was an article published by Moorish Awakening, 5/30/2019, stated that the Moorish Zionist temple, founded in 1899 by Rabbi Leon Richelieu in Brooklyn, New York, preceded the MSTA. Additionally stated it was rumored that our prophet's parents were members of the Moorish Zionist Temple. Can you speak on this? This is the first time I've heard a claim of a Moorish temple that predated the Moorish Zionist Temple.
From what I understand, there was the Moorish Zionist Temple of Moorish Jews in Harlem. There's one in Harlem, there's one in Brooklyn. And the so-called Zionist movement was hijacked, right? Those Moors who were themselves Hebrews, who identified with the Hebrew language and numerical system, they were practicing that, you know what I mean? And they resigned themselves under the Moorish paradigm because they knew their history. Whether the prophet was a member of that or another, I've never seen any actual documentation of that. They always want to link him up with other organizations, like the Freemasons want to claim him and say he was in the Knights of Pythias and all of this. And then there's another group called the Odd Fellows. They say that he was in that or whatever. But again, all of my research, I say, well, if he was in any one of these orders, they'd have had a record of it.
Oh, and so apologies. They had asked were his parents part of it, not him. The article was saying that his parents were part of it.
Well, first, the person that they showing as John Drew, that they saying is his parent, I don't think that's the same John Drew, because the John Drew that they showed in those pictures is a guy named, is the same John Drew who was the head of the Cherokee Regiment, who had Albert Pike as one of his under lieutenants during the wars between the Cherokees and the Chickasaws and all that in the Confederacy. Whether his parents were in it, again, if they were, then we would have record of that. You see what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people make claims because they want to find a way to anchor him to something that wasn't his. However, I've yet to see any evidence of that in terms of his parents being a part of it. But even if they were, that's great. So what? You know what I mean? Like, how does that take away from what we're dealing with today? Because as you see, we're all connected to the Moorish Zionist Temple of America, the Divine and National Movement. There, if the Moorish Zionist Temple of Brooklyn or Harlem Jews exist, like, I haven't seen remnants of them. What I do know is Rabbi Wentworth, who was also Marcus Garvey's rabbi in the UNIA, he was a rabbi in that. There was another guy named Mordecai, who was also a rabbi in that as well, or rabbi in that as well. I don't have, or I've not seen any evidence to say yay or nay to that.
Right.
But at the same time, I would say that I think that was actually a good thing. If it's true, that's actually a good thing.
That's a good thing, yeah.
That's great. You did.
It just solidifies our point.
Right.
A little bit more
exactly.
that everybody knows that we're Moors. Yeah.
Right.
Everybody
because
knows that
all
we're
of us
Moors.
come from what he said in Circle 7, which is what? The Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, right? Yeah. Who themselves were ancient Phoenicians, who themselves were ancient Carthaginians, who themselves down into history then became part of what you would call the barbarous nations of the East, which is the Algonquin and the Seneca and the Abenaki and the Montaka and the Washoe, right? Washita and all of that, going all the way out into ancient Mauritania, which we now today know is Texas and all of that. Mm-hmm. So that benefits us.
That's true.
Which is what I was saying with the original Moorish paradigm, is that we was a bunch of different things, but we all consolidated under and helped to erect and bring humanity into its highest phase.
Right.
Because it was under the Moorish Empire that unified the whole world. The whole world was speaking Kufic and writing Urdu and all of that stuff. And when you go and you research the Mauryan dynasty or speak to somebody who's Indian or Indus, right? And you ask them if they speak Urdu and all of that, and who created Urdu or where Urdu come from, they're gonna say the Moors.
Yeah.
Which was the holy. There's a book, there's a movie based on this, where they had the Indian Moor teaching Queen Elizabeth Urdu, and she always made sure he was in his turban and all of that. I've done classes on him where he's standing up with the turban and all of that, and she sitting down learning it.
Mm-hmm. Even there's a museum out here called the Aga Khan Museum, and there's a video on Canaanland Moors where we're outside. We were just out there, going to check this museum. We're just out chilling outside before we go inside, and same thing. Hindu man runs up from way down there, like ran up, running. Moors and Fezes running.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, the Fez. Last time I seen a Fez when I got married, I've been married for 30 years. Where can I get one? How do you know about this? Some Hindu man.
Exactly.
And then everybody else, Negro, black, colored, whoever else, they're looking at us and side-eyeing and whispering and, you know what I mean?
Same thing with me and the Queen. We went out to Texas one time a couple of years ago to do a lecture, and the brother that was hosting us, big up to Asbury L, we went to the mall or something, and while we at the mall, we chilling or whatever, we inhabit. I had the green joint on with the diadem and the turban with the feather out. Black Castle, and it was like 9 Hindus, bro. Them dudes came up so fast and was like, "Yo, who are you? Like, what's going on?" Blah, blah, blah. They wanted to take pictures. They were trying to buy us food. Like, man, cool, man, no problem. Because according to the ancient stuff, they technically are Muslims as well. You know what I mean? I mean, they worship, they idol and all of that, but the Sikhs is different than the traditional Hindus.
Lots out here. Yeah, there's lots out here. The Sikhs are out here heavy. Yeah, super heavy.
That's right.
Like they got the first right for because they wanted to wear their turban and have their dagger and all that.
Yep.
And they went to court and won their stuff.
And won where they could wear it in the army.
Yeah.
This is what Moors need to be doing. This is what I'm saying. Like, everybody know what the nationality thing is, man. And it's just our people are misinformed because they've been indoctrinated by, again, all of these clandestine movements that have been set aside to make us doubt what we are and where we come from.
It's crazy. You're hitting everything right on the right on the questions. So the next question is, how can we live by the principle of truth if we adhere to a lie every day? We are told not to mix public and private, but aren't we doing that by claiming our nationality, then adhering to falsehoods?
I don't think declaring nationality does that, because the prophet said, "Go to those who know law and speak in a mild-mannered tone, and you will receive a favorable reply for whatever you're trying to do." And the public and the private, at first understanding, is about you. You're the public and the private. What's private within you is that's within the heart. That's you. Then what's public about you is your appearance, how you move, your character, your deeds, your actions, how it is that you walk through this world. However, you always want to have that visage be reflective of who you are. So there are some Moors who will be in circumstances where they feel like they don't have to have any type of situation or any type of identifying marks or things like that to do that. And that's their prerogative to do that. However, these Moors, I find, tend to always be at odds with the so-called powers that be, and it's not supposed to be like that. When the prophet went and set up the temple, he didn't go in with his own paperwork. He went in And based upon his understanding of the law and their paperwork, he went in and used the stuff that was already there and filled it out, right? Put his name on it and all of that, listed who was down with it, crossed out trustee, wrote sheiks, right? That was him taking what was private and creating a public interface, so that way people who wanted to be private who were in the public could come into it, and then from there go into their private stance. And we've been benefiting from that to this day. Like, I think when you strive to use certain apparatuses to try to get around certain things, when you come into the problem. You see what I'm saying? That's when you mix in all of that. Like what I was saying with the sovereign citizen stuff. Like, a lot of that stuff, you don't even gotta go that hard. You don't even gotta answer the questions. See what I'm saying? This is why the prophet said more, stop showing your nationality cards because it's causing confusion. So what did that say? That says is what you are, you don't gotta broadcast. You can just make sure that your credentials are representative of that, and they will basically speak for themselves. So if I'm riding around and I'm saying that I'm, Horace Akenton El Bey, right? Grand Sheik of this, and that. But then my identification and all of that say Robert Miller, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna get caught up. You're gonna get caught up. If anything, you're going to create a interface through the stuff that's already there, so that way everything is reflective. And in that way you have your, let's say, corrected understanding, your corrected name, and then the name that now is on paper and all of that is reflective of that. But you can't expect a dead society to write your name in a living way. So what you got to do then is create another interface with that name, right? That then is reflective of the same, however, is consistent with what it is that you've already established. So now if they stop you and ask you what your name is, and then they looking at your identification from the same whatever federal or whatever government that you in, and it's reflective of the same thing, what they gonna say? They're gonna say, have a nice day, sir. That's what they say to me. And I keep it moving. You know what I mean? I'm not out here striving to get caught up in trying to explain a foregone conclusion. I am that I am. And thus, because I am that, I can have that reflective of everything. I just have to secure how that's done. And that's not necessarily the way that everybody else is doing it. Because everybody else is doing it, they want their own plates and they want their own this and that, and that's cool. You know what I mean? There's ways to do that. However, it's not about registering. You see what I'm saying? It's more about putting people on notice, but not putting people on notice from the perspective of like, oh, I just mailed them this thing or whatever. Whatever it is that you're putting out there has to be reflective and secured by yourself before you do that. So this way, once it's received, it is received in a favorable reply, not on some intrusive type of situation, because we're supposed to be at harmony with whatever thing is. That's why the Moors are in amity with almost every nation on the planet, because we're not at war, because it was our sacrifice in allowing the empire to become almost, to go from the empires, kingdoms, and dominions into the nations, countries, and states that allowed this stuff to exist now. Because we were at a point as a people where we were fractured, where we had fallen so low into the third density that we forgot how to be noble, how to practice chivalry, and I mean chivalry without, not masonry, I'm talking about real chivalry, chevalier. See what I'm saying? How to conduct ourselves with the affairs of men and all of that. How to have your credentials and stuff like that recognized without taken away from what it is you've done. There's a proper way to do all of that. Mm-hmm. It's just that those of us that knew how aged out. That's where people like CMB came in. Because everybody like, well, you don't like Freemasons, then, but you down with what CMB was doing. Yeah, because CMB was self-initiated.
CMB was a Moor.
Himself. He initiated himself. Nobody gave him that.
Yeah.
He initiated himself to do that.
Like it never registers to them that he never says, 33 degree of some large number.
No, he's part of no lodge on the planet.
Yeah.
The lodge he was a part of was his arm, leg, arm, head.
Exactly.
That's why he was 720. That's why all the Masons had to bow down. That's why they had to do all of that. That's why he had to go down, because he also was one of the only ones that ain't take the bribe. He ain't take the money.
Yeah.
He said no. They said they brought him in and showed him all the gold. Said, you can have all of this. He said, I already got it. No, I'm gonna go free my people at 13. Who doing that? Who doing that? That's why the Moors was running. They was running it all up in there. That's why Rockefeller, in order for them to set up what they did, they had to get permission from the charter. They had to get one of the charters from the 30 Moors out there in Ohio to set it up, to set up the railroad. The Moors dropped that years ago. I'm talking about that years ago. They've been burying that ever since. Just like this oral, the same way they got oral stuff with Garvey, they got oral speeches and all that of the prophet. They just not letting us hear it. I know a Moor personally who went down to South America, got it, brought it back up to America, gave it to his grandchief. You ain't heard from him since. That was back in they said the late 90s. Moore told me that. Elder Moore told me that. So they've been hiding this stuff because, again, they want to make it seem like Freemasonry is the same as being a Mason. Like a Mason is a made son or a son of man. And that's what we are naturally born of, because we're born from our maid, our mother. So we naturally born on the square. That's why as soon as we born, we can lift our heads up. Everybody else will take them days to do that, if not a month and some change to do that. We naturally born on that. So we naturally born on the square. So why am I going to go put on an apron and do all of this other stuff and learn and study 35 to 50 years, pay all of this money in degrees when I'm naturally born on it? I'm naturally born on the square. Why would I study 35 to 50 years to learn what I already am, when all I got to do is get the 101s? All I got to do is walk the path, and I'm naturally going to get it. Like I said, I tell a story back in the days when I really started cracking the Moorish paradigm and really going in. One day I go across the street, my grandmother's cleaning out this old preacher house. He done sold his house to the Jews. And his son was like, yo, anything in the basement you see, you just take whatever. And I just was understanding like the 28th degree in the 1 to 40, but the nation gods of earth, the Muslim sun degree and all of that. And then I'm reading about how the prophet said when the Shriners came to the temple with the marked up fez, he took their fez off. He said, "I your prophet am here. You don't need that." Took their fezzes off, gave them plain red fezzes. We go down in the basement, the dismal crypt, and we cleaning this stuff out. And something said, "Look in the dumbwaiter." For people that don't know, a dumbwaiter is like a thing that in the old Tartarian houses, when we used to have the white slaves preserving the food, we would it would be like a little closet, and then you would have a thing and you would pull it down and go all the way down and put the food in it, and you bring it up, take the food out, so you never have to see them. So some said, look at the dumbwaiter. I look at the dumbwaiter, it's a big dusty paint tarp. And then I looked under that, and it was all of this dude's, his life, his whole Freemasonic life is in a little box. And he had the gold plaque from the order. He had he had everything but the apron. Had the Shrine Fez, had everything. Had all of it in there. The books, I'm talking about going back to the 30s, to 20s actually. The Enter the Apprentice books, all of this stuff. The Gerald Mackey 33 and the third volume set, everything. Had pictures of some old side chick he had like old stag pictures where she had like a top hat and a cane, and she was like like posed like naked, like had all that stuff in there. And I'm looking in there, and my grandmother said, "What you find?" Because now I know she eats and starves. So I said, "Nothing." She said, "Well, whatever it is, you know what I mean, you could throw it out or whatever." I said, "Bet." So I went, got a garbage bag, put all that shit in there, took that home, and boom. See what I'm saying? Like Allah brought all of that to me without me having to put on nothing, without me having to do nothing. It just was there. I remember at one time I was back when I was homeless for a little while, before me and Selena got together, and I was walking. I would just walk from different crib, you know, where I could stay. So I had no bread to get on the train, so I had to walk from Park Slope all the way to Franklin Avenue, which is it's kind of a long way. Back when Buckshot and them used to live, we used to call it FAP. So I remember walking past. So I would be on Union Street. It was almost like 3 miles. So I'm walking, and then I'm at that day I had been researching about the Hebrew Moors and all of that, because I got a book called The Black Yacoubans by C.R.L. Lewis. And then he was talking about the Hebrew Moors and all of that. So I'm reading about them, thinking about that as I'm walking. It's about 1 o'clock something in the morning. I'm passing by, everything closed. So I'm passing by, I pass by the synagogue, and I look over, and it's a box. It's like a box right outside the synagogue. Like, so you know me, I go look in the box. It's full of Hebrew books. And not like in Yiddish Hebrew, but like real Hebrew. Like a box, like. So I'm like, damn. You know? And I'm looking at it like, damn, like this is crazy. Because this happened right after the Freemason thing. So I'm well, this, you left this for me. So I look around like, any more, Lord? You got anything else? Just looking around, right? I look towards the gutter. It's a $5 bill. It's a $5 bill on the ground. So I'm like, damn, because I'm thinking like, damn, I'm gonna have to walk with this box, this dumb head. All of this thing. So I stopped. I said, damn, any more, Lord? Like, I look, and I'm thinking I'm bugging. I'm like, I know that's not a $5 bill. And I look, turn out $5. So now I could take the box on the train, you know what I'm saying? Go home, go to where I was staying at, and read. Try to decipher the thing. That's when I first started learning how to read Hebrew. So that's what I'm saying. Where there's a will, there's a way. You know what I'm saying? And when you put yourself divinely out there to receive, because I'm humble. I don't have nothing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I always said, if I ever get to the point when people actually come to me and learn about whatever, I'm gonna strive to remember this type of stuff. Because I know what it's like to go to Moors, and I'm in the class with the Moors, and I'm trying to get the understanding. Like I went to the Clock of Destiny class one time, and this Elder Moore, who I ain't gonna name, was there, whatever. This nigga, he going in and whatever, but he kind of speak with like a speech kind of impediment. So I'm trying to like really hear him, and I just sat back and I'm like, he's saying stuff and I'm just answering. And he's like, okay, so he really seeing like I'm really about it. And then I just sat back and realized like, well, wait a minute, we doing this class in the Square and Trowel Lodge. Like, are we supposed to be even in here talking about this? And he's in there with the fez, with the Mark Fez on. You see what I'm saying? And that was the last time me and the Queen went. That was the last time we went. It was like, nah, I can't be learning it from somebody like this, because and he's knowledgeable of all of that. This dude, but come to find out, this dude wound up taking the original Clock of Destiny stuff and putting it in a trust somewhere in Australia type shit. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like,
crazy.
When you meant to get it, it'll get there for you. You ain't got to go by no other man. A man knows not from being told, and you don't know what these men, other agenda that they giving you to give you this stuff. And I ain't never see the prophet wear no apron. I ain't never see none of these old pictures of any of these more. None of them had no aprons on. You know what I mean? The only people I know was doing that was chefs, you know what I'm saying? Who's cooking food, and Freemasons, other than that. But again, that was something that was a whole ritual we created to initiate people that wasn't us into this. So we can't now go and get them to initiate us into that. Like that's not, as they say, that's now cipher, to me at least. You know what I mean? I'm not saying anybody that do that is a part of this, a part of that. I'm just saying that you don't really know.
Right.
And what you don't know, you have to believe. Because once you believe something, you don't know it. But if you know something, you don't believe it because you know it. You know what I mean? You don't believe your parents, you know your parents. You see what I'm saying? But you believe in Jesus. See what I'm saying? You believe in Allah. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's because you don't know Allah or what that is supposed to really represent. Because all of these names are just allegorical cover sheets that protect the true divine wisdom that we're lacking.
The last question. Well, it's a set of questions, but I'm sure we can get it done. What would be a good rites of passage exercise or lesson for our sons to become men and for our daughters to become women? And what books would you recommend reading that best describes our Moorish culture and habits before misinformation and corruption? And there's one more question after that, but I'll stop at those two and ask the other one.
Okay.
The first one was what would be a good rites of passage exercise or lesson for sons becoming men and daughters becoming women?
That's what the Moorish balls and stuff used to be about. They used to bring them, but like when I was a little boy, my mother and them, they're from Louisiana. So they used to have what they call cotillions, right? Or what the white people refer to as coming out party, which essentially is like a Bay mitzvah, you know what I mean, for the children. It usually happens around 13, 12. And this is when they introduce everybody to each other, the children and all of that, and then the parents, you know. So in the Moorish Science Temple, they used to have, like I said, the Moorish balls, because balls show majesty. And that's where the royalty and the nobles get together to practice peerage. There's a book called Burke's Peerage that gets into all the noble families of the pre-fallen Moors, you know, in Europa. That's where all these college of arms images of Moors on crests and all that come from. That's why we grew up liking polo and all of that. You see what I'm saying? Because that's reminiscent to how we was instinctively raised. So one way to do that, or you know, at least what temples could do, they could start to reenact that, reestablish that, you know, bring those out, have the coming out parties where the little Moors learn the 101s, and then they go up on the stage and then they all recite them or whatever, you know what I mean? And at the end, each one get their little plaque or get their little thing to be recognized, where they get their fezzes. You see what I'm saying? And the queen, the little Moabites, get their tiaras or they crowns or whatever. And then there's the ceremony of the dance, you know what I mean? Because the dance represents the alchemical wedding of both sides of the family coming together. Because remember, when you read Galatians 4:22-24, it basically says that the story of Abraham, Hagar, and Sarah is an allegory of the covenant of two sides of the family coming together. So right there, it's telling you that it's not real. It's really about the physical aspects coming together, because one, Hagar, represented the bonds ones, those who are in servitude, and then Sarah, or where we get Sarah's son, because we are all the sons of Sarah, see, we're the Sarah sons. They represent the free side. So the free was to marry the bonded, and then in that, the child now has the ability to be free because they accept now the noble name, you see what I'm saying, of he who is free, which is the Eo, the Bay, the Day, the Al, the Ali, the Pasha, whatever. So that's one way to do it. And if you don't have a temple that you could do that, you could establish Moors. You could establish something to do that. Like me and the Queen was talking about maybe starting to establish that. Like when we have an annual joint out here or whatever, and encourage the families to come and then do these little ceremonies. You see what I'm saying? To have that, as well as the baptismal certificates and all of that, because these are the things that establish you as a nation, as well as learning, you know, your native tongue. Our native tongue technically is English right now. However, we come from a people who were speaking ancient, what they call Libyan Berber Latin, which we know is ancient Punica. So thanks to Moors like the great Uriel Bey, the magnificent Prince Uriel Bey, peace be upon him, he laid out a huge breadth of work that allows us to learn how to do that. Like I got Moors out here that are language masters in that now. We'll be speaking to each other like that, like daily. You understand what I'm saying? In that, and then learning to write it. So that way we can have whole communities with this. When you come to the community, you see the Latin and all of that on the buildings, on that same way we go to the Jewish communities, you see the Hebrew letters on everything. You don't know what that say, but they do. So it's the same thing with us. This is how you reestablish the bonds of familial relationships. So one of the great sources for that tribe of custom is Prince Uriel Bey books. When you read Consecrated Talismans, volumes 1, 2, 3, he has a whole thing in the back of it on the customs, how we used to talk, how we used to marry each other, and all types of stuff. He also created what was called the first comprehensive Moorish geodetic survey that's actually registered with the Homeland Security. That's actually noticed by the Homeland Security, where you can use those documents as express trust to verify your ascendancy and connection to the divine empire. And at the same time, giving honors and all praise to the Prophet Noble Jew Ali. All in the same documents. He also laid out the whole, how we used to run the economic through a book called O.S. Economicus. You know what I mean? But when he was alive, Moors was really low-key hating on him because of his astuteness, because of his ability to do so many things to reunify the whole thing, while at the same time still giving honors to the Prophet, still giving honors to the temple. You know what I mean? So those books, I would suggest everybody read those, because those, like I said, and they're great reading because it not only gives you that, it gives you the historical context of all of the different aspects of the Moorish Empire, all of the different names that the Moors had in the empires and all of that. Like if you read an old story, you read about Galatia, or you read about the Boricum, or you read about, you don't even know that you're reading about Moors, or you're reading about the Etruscans or the Minoans or all of that. You don't even know you're reading about Moors. You're reading right about your own people. But because they put a white man picture on it, you think that it's them. But when you look at the picture, look at the dress he got on. These people wasn't dressed like that. You know what I mean? So those books definitely the Circle 7 Quran, because within that, he got the whole section on how the husband's supposed to treat the wife, how the wife's supposed to treat the husband, how the children's supposed to treat the parents. All of this. And making those centerpieces in your everyday life. You know what I mean? You could still reference the Bible and all of that, but look at it for what it really is. Everybody say, oh, well, the prophet, he took the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus Christ, written by Eliphas Levi. Eliphas Levi ain't write that book. You understand what I'm saying? Eliphas Levi was a Christian when he died. So what does that say? Okay. Eliphas Levi got that from Pascal Beverly Raymond, who himself was a Mormon. Who his mother his father was one of the members of the Continental Congress or more, and his mother was a princess from Madagascar. You know what I mean? And he wound up becoming Lord of all the Rosicrucians in the world before they turned it into what we understand Rosicrucianism to be. Right? And that's where that came from. That came from what they refer to as the Ansaratic Mysteries. That's why the prophet said he compiled it. See what I'm saying? Like And then when you read the Circle 7, when you read it from the back to the front, that's the nationality to the divine. When you read it from the front to the back, that's the divine to the national, because they both work in tandem. The divine is private. The national is public. They come together in the form of the body of Allah, which is the Moorish Science Temple of America, which is you Moors who have your science within your temple, domiciled in America or at America. It's more than just a building. That's why he was able to shut the building down, and the Queen Delia Bay, I believe it's Delia Bay, was able to hold these meetings in her house. That's why the more started branching out and having the big joints and the big balls and all that other type of stuff, whether they was in the Ink or whether they was in the Resurrected or whether they was in the whatever it was, the one that the divine temple of Islam, the divine Islam temple, the pre-Fard situation that predated the Nation of Islam. Even when you look at the early Nation of Islam, they was all wearing fezzes. When you read the theology of time, Elijah Poole Bey, he got a whole section in there on the Moorish Americans. You know what I'm saying? That's why to this day, Farrakhan, you start seeing him wearing the fez with a turban and all that around it all of a sudden. You start seeing Moors at the Savior's days and all of that. Because technically the fruit was supposed to be the militia of the army for the Moorish Science Temple of America to protect us. But again, they went into their own thing, and it is what it is. However, they still are brothers. The Hebrew Israelites are still our brothers. The Inks or the Resurrected and all that, regardless of what they may feel about me or you or anybody else, those are still our brothers and sisters. They're just on their own path, and they believe that what they have is enough, and they don't need to unify or do whatever else. And they believe that their version of whoever took the place of the prophet is who they're supposed to be dealing with. So let them do that. It's not my place or your place or anybody's place to go and try to always be challenging these people. Let them think what they want, man. Let them do what they do. Eventually, it's all the cream gonna rise to the top. What was the last question?
And the last question was, this is relative to the Moorvengers. What was it like when you fought Dormammu? Because they're Doctor Strange.
That's funny. That brother Sheldon, he created that, and it was real. It was mad flattering and stuff. When I first saw it, it was really dope. What I didn't know is that some of these new groups that's popping up. One of them, the head of this dude, the other day, tried to come at me on a thing because of it. It was like, oh, well, you're the more Avengers and y'all believe this. It was like, what? That's not even real. That was something that was done on some quick meme shit because he wanted to give honors to those of us that have still been around talking all of this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And whether I agree with certain people who were listed in that or not is, again, irrelevant. I don't have to... Moors be taking shit way too serious sometimes, yo. Really not realizing that part of this is to create a paradigm in which everything that's out here we have within our own structure and our own base. So I was always an artist first. So I was always into comic books and science fiction and these things. I grew up reading. My uncle was serving like 15 to 25 in Ossining penitentiary, and he got mad books and sent me all of the Doom books, all of them. When I was 11, I was reading these books, you know what I mean, and writing to him about it in Bless the Dead, and writing to him about what I thought about it, and it sparked me. I grew up watching cartoons and just like everybody else did. Why niggas act like they wasn't watching He-Man? Why they act like they wasn't, you know what I'm saying, watching Silverhawks and going
Centurions.
The Centurions and the Visionaries, all of that. Heathcliff. I was watching all of that because we was the latchkey generation. All we could do was watch TV. You couldn't go outside. until our mother came home, you know what I'm saying? Or on Saturday mornings, like, come on now, that's when it was still cool to be a child. And that sparked me to, instead of always seeing, and I never looked at it like, oh, well, all of these superheroes is white and there's no black superhero. Because there was T'Challa, and there was the Falcon, and there was Master of Kung Fu, and it was everybody. Black Vulcan, like Apache Chief. Like, I never looked at Superman like, oh, that's a white man and this and that. Like, not as a child. When I grew up, I was saying, oh, this is really our story that they allegorically putting with their face on it. That don't mean that Clark Kent is whack. Like, you don't need to make him black for me. Keep him white. Keep Batman Bruce Wayne. Like, I don't want to see no black. Create another character. So what I did was started creating my own characters with their own stories and their own stuff that was reminiscent of that, where you could have a nostalgia, but then see that, oh, this is something totally different for us. That's what we're supposed to do. But we're supposed to be just watching Marvel movies forever and never see us and always have these people dictate to us what these characters are supposed to look like? No, we're supposed to create our own aspects of that, so that way my son, your sons, and all of that can see comic books and stuff and all that, so they ain't always got to watch One Punch Man, Chainsaw Man, and you know what I'm saying? And all of that's dope. Thank you, brother. And all of that's dope. Like, all of that's good stuff. Like, I don't understand what the problem is where niggas is trying to gentrify imagination now, where they like you can't even enjoy imagination. That's what they trying to do with this DEI and ESG BS, that they trying to make all of the white characters black. That's not cool. I don't need you to make a white version of a black version of something that was already there. I like Captain America, Steve Rogers. Like, Anthony Mackie ain't Captain America. Captain America is Steve Rogers. Like, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? It wasn't until later when they realized they needed to do something where they brought the old story. Oh, there was another dude before him, Isaiah Bradley, who was a part of the Tuskegee experiment. And they wind up trying to shut him down because they felt that the world wasn't ready for a black Captain America. And then Steve Rogers was the one who came in. But Steve Rogers grew up in Brooklyn. You know what I mean? Steve Rogers fought for the American way. I'm an American. I'm a Moorish American. You know what I'm saying? I'm from here. He ain't never called me nigga. I ain't never read a comic book where he did that. So like, y'all bugging, y'all crazy. And then, like I said, with the more Avengers stuff, where Brother Sheldon sent me the joint and I saw it, it was like, I thought it was really dope.
Yeah.
Again, there's something that's putting us within that, because part of being alive is using your imagination and creating your own mythos with your own people. That's why if you go to turn on India TV right now, they got an India Spider-Man, they got an Indian Spider-Man, they got an Indian Batman, they got a Japanese Spider-Man, they got a Japanese Batman. Like, you did. But I don't need you to hate on Bruce Wayne, because Bruce Wayne, when you read his story, his family was fur trappers, and they hooked up with the Algonquin, and they was fighting against the British, the dirty Moors. So why is that a problem? So this is what I'm saying, man. We're multifaceted people. Just because we got down to self and Moors and all of that, there's enough Moors out here. Like right now, I'll show you. There's enough Moors out here that's writing books that we can support. You know what I'm saying? That's writing books. This is one. There's another book for another brother. He wrote, I forget this brother's name, called Hidden Nations. I got a bunch of books that Moors have been writing. Because when I first came out, you couldn't find no books on.
There's nothing.
You had to look and search.
Yeah.
So I feel like I was instrumental in helping people understand that they can do that. And now Moors that I know who have come to my classes, who haven't even come to my class, who've been watching me, whatever, be sending me their books. And I'm helping advertising that. So let them write the history books and all of that and all that. I want to write, books. I want to write comic book novels and all of that. Where I'm taking the same information, but putting it in a movie form or putting it in a comic book form or something like that. So kids that don't want to sit there and read history books and all of that about the Moors can get the same thing and then put the book list in the back of it, which then incentivizes the literacy for them to do that. Why I gotta do what everybody else do? And just to be, you know what I'm saying, what, to say that I did that? All of these videos that I've been doing for the past 25 years, those is books. You could start transcribing them.
We'll transcribe that for real. Moore's are asking, what was the name of that last book you just had right there?
This is written by a brother named Mirage, by Black Hand Mirage. It's called The Midnight Mirage Presents America, a Moorish Paradise of the Plumed Serpent. Is another one too. Get it real quick before we close out. Is another great book, The Hidden Nation. This is written by brother at Tazaz Bay. Great book. Small, packed with stuff. I got a bunch of them. I'm gonna start putting them on my app with the book list. I'm gonna have a whole book list page on the app and all of that, and people can go there. And any Moorish authors that got books or whatever, just hit me up, and then I'll put it on my app and everything for free. And just send me the joint. I have it on there so people can go and then they can check you out. That with your email, and they can start supporting. There's a bunch of them I have on deck. Because I'm all about the people. I'm all about our people, man. We all we got. So if you doing something positive and you writing a book or whatever, I'm gonna support that. I ain't gonna hate on that, you know. So like I said, with all of these different various groups that's been popping up, and then they'll pop up and cause mad stuff or whatever, and then they just be gone. You know what I mean? That lets you know that the cream, like I said, gonna rise to the top. And if you just out here to glorify yourself with that, you're not gonna last. Because the truth is the truth universally. And it's not fair to want to get in this to then just control somebody else and try to be what somebody else thinks, because that's not what Moors do. We here to practice love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality. Keep the divine creed. Do not forsake your brother. When you out in the world, do not forsake your brother and sister for a stranger. Mm-hmm. And I really believe that. I really know that. So that's where I'm at. So, you know, you got to
give thanks more. Appreciate your time. Appreciate all the work that you've been putting in.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man.
Or not, know that there's Moors out here who support you and the Empress, and you know what I mean. You're appreciated. You know, there's more than you know. These people appreciate their little idols and whoever else that they go and playing worship games with. You know what I mean? We're sending you, you know, positive energy and longevity.
Thank you, Noble. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you for posting the links and everything. And again, man, everybody, if you can, let's really work it out, man. Don't be scared to be yourself, but don't strive to be with somebody else. Reach your level of excellence. It's real about reaching your level of excellence and majesty, not mine, not Brother Cujo's, not even the prophets. It's about yours, because the future is already here. The moment that we're in is all of it, the past, present, and future right now. So if you can harness that energy in the moment, there's nothing that you're not going to be able to do, regardless of what adversity happen or will happen. You know what I mean? Because like I said, man, we all we got. Inshallah.
Islam. Give thanks more.
Islam. Peace.
Islam.
Peace.
And so that was the Q&A for today. We're gonna go back. Just wanted to make sure, you know, he got his time, because Moore's not sitting around doing nothing. So he was able to answer. And I think fairly well. Fairly well. You know, I mean, if you need more than that, you probably have a lot more studying to do. Like, you must have a lot of, you must be behind if you're not clear after that. I don't know how much more clear it could be put. Like, I don't know how much more clear it could be put. Okay. But hey, you know, questions weren't answered. Put them in the chat. You know, we got some time still. So if your question wasn't answered, put it in the chat in all caps, and we'll see what we could do with going a little further than where, I don't know how much further we could go, because he went pretty far. He went pretty far with answering his questions, and all the questions were asked verbatim. You know, nothing was changed in the question, so maybe your question wasn't asked right if maybe you think the answer wasn't given, because I'm clear based on everything that he responded with. I'm clear. I'm not confused whatsoever. Like, what he presented, understood. Right. Yeah, and exactly. For the time frame, what, an hour? He got in a lot in the hour. He got in a lot. He got in a good bit. So just put your questions in all caps, and we'll answer them as they pop up. So if you have any questions, Consuelo wanted to know if Prophet used UCC. There's nothing in the literature that I ever seen that mentioned UCC. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Right, nothing at all. But you know what's really interesting? It's really interesting that Noble Drew Ali used the UCC when the UCC came about in the 1950s or something. So anybody telling you that Noble Drew Ali used UCC, anybody telling you that Noble Drew Ali used UCC, and UCC came about in the 1950s, you know, talking about when stuff was published and all that stuff, right? Because you're dealing with the corpse. So I'm talking about 1940s and 1930s, and they were doing NFFRR and commissioners of the uniform, this and that. You know, I didn't hear about none of that. That's not what you're talking about. You said UCC. That's 1950s. When was Noble Drew Ali around? What year was Noble Drew Ali? What year was Noble Drew Ali? So if Noble Drew Ali is 1920s and UCC is 1950s, obviously he has nothing to do with it. Obviously. So somebody's lying. So instead of bringing questions here, bring questions over there to the liars. The only thing he filed in Cook County is our authority. That's all. And our authority has nothing to do with land. No mention of land in that. Nothing at all. Zero. No mention whatsoever of land in our authority. No draw didn't make any claim to the land. What claim to the land? Where is that at? What do you mean he made a claim to the land? Where is that at? He said we're Moors. He said we're Moors. He said we're heirs. If you're heir, then claim your stuff. No ask what other people are doing. You go claim your stuff. Whatever that is that you're supposed to claim, since you're heir. And you should know what it is that you're going to claim. And make your proclamation of whatever it is you, the heir, is deserved. What is meant by do all old business in the old name and all new business in the new name? You found out that you're a Moor today. You say, I am Sarah Bay. Anything you do now as Sarah Bay, that's new business. Anything before Sarah Bay, that's old business. So any old business, all those tickets and all that stuff that you got that you thought, oh, I'm going to be a Moor and get out of all the tickets. No, you're not. Go deal with your nigger issues before you start playing around in the Moorish stuff, which is the same thing that Brother Aseer just said on there, that people priorities are all messed up and they want to do stuff outside their self before inside their self is proper, which is why they have always had issues, because they're dealing with outside themselves when internally they're fucked and they don't want to look at themselves internally because they know what they're going to find when they go look at their self, and they don't want to deal with what they're going to find. So they're going to blame Moors and blame UCC and blame the white man and blame the judge and blame the highwayman and blame their mom and blame their dad and blame their brother and their cousin and blame all these other people, and instead of looking within and checking themselves, so that when you do your new business in your new name, you don't bring that nigger stuff with you in the old name and taint the new stuff that you're doing. But people don't want to know themselves before they get into the more stuff. They want to know their stuff, and then they want to get into more stuff right away because time's running out. And then, you know how long they've been saying time's running out? They said time's running out in 1999, had people stacking water to the ceiling and all that stuff, and then nothing happened. And then what? Now you're stuck with all this water that you got to drink. And you look like a dumbass. Don't fall for the BS. Stop falling for the BS. Just stop falling for the BS. That's all. It's not some rocket science. I've been searching online but can't seem to find Time Walker for purchase anywhere. Does anyone know where I could find it in the book form? You're not getting Time Walker in the book form unless you want some type of $8 million. So get the PDF, download it, take it to a print store, and make them make you a copy of it. Why is you can get a PDF, right? The PDF you could print, right? Isn't that a hard copy if you print it? Why you have to purchase stuff? Why are you always looking to purchase stuff? The PDF. Why you just go? So 3 cents a page. It's black and white. So it's 3 cents a page times 100 pages. How much the book costs? What, $1 million? No, PDF email it to a print store, and the print store is going to print it out for you, and then you're going to pay them per page. What is I know for a fact there's a PDF out there. I know for a fact there's a PDF out there. And why you're having these issues is because of the saturation in the market of the BS. Because you used to be able to just, whoop, Time Walker, PDF, boop, stuff's popping up, boop, download, 2 seconds. Right? But you know, Sarah Connor warned you people, but y'all playing games. Yeah. You're playing games. And a reminder, please ask your questions in all caps. Because when I pass your questions, because I think it's just you making some comment, then you're going to complain about I didn't answer the questions. When it's not that I didn't answer the questions, it's that you didn't write it in all caps so I can see it in the chat as the chat's moving, because there's 117 people on here, and I'm going to have to go back in order to read, because I can't, nothing pauses here. So I have to manually, I remember we're doing this for free and all that stuff. I have to I don't have no moderator and all that stuff, somebody on the side and have the mic, and they have a computer over there and they're doing the work for me while I sit on my ass. Like, I have to manually go back through this whole chat and find the questions that were missed. So put them in all caps so that they can be seen. Just a FYI. When did he file that? Did whatever he filed not change the way banking was done in Al Maghreb? Everything the Prophet did changed what was being done at the time. But they murdered him and people sold out, and the stuff went right back to what it was, which was modern Europeans assuming authority, but now they have to do a new deal because they can't use America as collateral anymore, because Noble Drew Ali claimed it when he went to the Pan American Conference, that this is the Moroccan Empire. So if it's the Moroccan Empire, these people don't have jurisdiction unless they go by the treaty, which is why Noble Drew Ali said enforce the Constitution. But how are you going to enforce the Constitution if you're around sellouts who's teaching you that this is religious from the 1930s to 2024? And now you're complaining and asking Moors about, well, how come this and how come that? Why don't you ask those sellouts who've been calling themselves Moor Science Temple of America for the past 100 years and caused all this confusion? Why don't you go ask them? So stuff is how it is right now because Moors sold out. Noble Drew Ali and what he brought finished the United States corporation. They were supposed to pack up and go back to Europe. Because what are they doing here? They're serving no purpose. They're not here to teach us government anymore, because now we're the government again. They couldn't have that. So they used Moors to murder Noble Drew Ali so they can business as usual. And the sellouts got their little whatever. And like Aseer was talking about, we just were talking about this, and all the people who had the elaborate temples with the carpet floor and the pews and the new paint job and all the whatever. Where do you think they got that finance from? They got that finance because they sold out. Don't get mad. That's just what it is. You mad. Your own soul out. So what are we supposed to do about it? What are you gonna do about it? Nobody's done anything for 100 years. The hell are you gonna do about it? What 2 years you found out you're a Moor and you want to stop dirty Moors? What are you talking about? Did the Prophet receive a land mandate from the conference in Cuba? I don't know what the Prophet received or not, but based on Peter Moon, Montauk Book of the Dead, based on Azariah Bay, RIP, based on Jose Pimenta Bay, based on the actual Pan American Conference itself happening, based on the picture of Noble Drew Ali with the sombrero. The only reason why he would be wearing that is if he's at the Pan American Conference, because there ain't no other reason why he's going to be wearing that. Obviously, he's in Cuba if he's wearing that. So what he received, mandate, grant, whatever, I don't know. I wasn't there. I never seen anything referencing that ever. Only thing is Peter Moon, Montauk Book of the Dead. And it was called mandate in his literature. And the mandate is what dissolved them and bankrupt them and insolvented them. But then they murdered Noble Drew Ali. So instead of him being in charge, now the sellouts are in charge, and all the European has to do is sit back because the sellouts are gonna give them the stuff. And here we are. That's why this is divine before it's national. You want national stuff first. Work on your divine. You want national stuff and your divine is messed up. Going back to the same thing that we're talking about. Don't worry about mandates and all that stuff if your chakra is not aligned. Mandate's gonna do for you if you're out of order within yourself. Stuff's not gonna work. That's why Moors who stuff work, they'll tell you, yeah, before I sent my papers, I was studying for 5 years. Before ID card, I'm not even ready for an ID card yet. I'm still studying. I've been studying for 10 years. I've been studying for 10 years and I don't have an ID card. I know I'm a Moor though. Nobody's backing me down that I'm not a Moor. But I don't even have an ID card. Oh no, that's not the Supreme from Canaanland. What is the source? Y'all really don't you think I'm patient. You think I'm a good teacher. Because you know how much licks some of you people would get for not following instructions? Licks. You know how much licks you would get? Yo, you would get so much licks. You'll be so mad after. Like, why is he like so hard with the licks? Because you don't follow damn instructions. That's why. But I'll accommodate your incompetence for not writing your stuff in all caps. I'll accommodate your incompetence. Just this once. So moorishtimes.com. moorishtimes.com or themoorishtimes.com, whatever. Where the pale Arabs who are mad that the Moors are waking up have their article talking crazy about Moore Science Temple, and he's Noble Drew Ali's African American and all this. They're mad, big mad. But you're not gonna see Cosmo and then people respond to this. You're not gonna see that. You're gonna see them making videos about Kudro. But they say nothing to these pale Arabs, dissing their birthrights. But they're gonna talk crazy about Kudro, make videos, all types of BS. Right. Islam to all the Moors, all the trap muftis. Orders to the Duke for giving us an hour of his time. It's great. It's great to know more Avengers. It's great to know more Avengers. It's amazing. It's amazing to know all you Moors. What is the name of the book with the Moorish Latin culture? The author is Prince Uriel Bey, and it's three of them. Prince Uriel Bey. Consecrated Talisman. Consecrated Talisman. Let me see if they pull up. Again, going back to that thing. Going back to that thing about getting these, right? Out of stock forever, right? It's Consecrated Talisman, Economicus, Artificium, and Admoria Matria Mea. And these are stuff that, at a time, you could just get. And then all of a sudden, out of stock forever. Just like that. Right? Same thing with Time Walker. Time Walker, PDF. Whoop, pop up easy. Download, no issues. 101 facts about pop up easy, no issues. Zero issues. Now, 8 million, all types of madness. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, but that Moorish that Moorish Times, the Afrocentrist myths of the Moors. I love when they get mad. Love when they get mad. We are the government because we are claiming our birthright. Yes, we are the government because we are claiming who it is that we are. We recognize who we are. Doesn't matter what anybody else recognizes. They care less what they do. They do whatever it is that they're gonna do. They do whatever it is they want to do. That's up to them. And then there's also the side of, oh, that's what you're gonna do? I'm gonna learn how to live within your BS that you're trying to pull. I'm gonna learn how to live within your BS that you're trying to pull and come out the other end unscathed when your stuff falls to shambles. As we already know, the stuff is falling. Dissolved, bankrupt, and insolvent, they exist in name only. It's just a fraud. It's just a front. Well, play the game. That's what they're gonna do. Who they sending after you? Yep, they have their mercenaries and all that stuff. We told you that these people are out for blood. How much people they gotta murder in the street for you to know that they're out for blood? They don't care what you think or what you say. Are you going to stand on yours like they stand on theirs? That's the question. That's when you'll know. Because we keep going into this mindset of we need some response from them in order for us to do what it is that we have to do. No, whether you get a response or not, you do what you have to do. That's all. And nobody else is going to do it. Who else is going to do it? Somebody else going to do it for you? You got to dig this ditch. You digging, or you standing on the bank talking about, well, you should dig over there because over there is the right. So that's why Noble Drew Ali said, those who doubt whether this stuff is real or not, just go back to the state where I found you. You don't need to be part of this. Because the why question, only you could answer the why question. Why should I claim my nationality? I don't know. Why should you? Why I claim mine is because I'm not being Negro, black, colored. I don't have to be that. I could have a nationality. Well, I'm claiming. Everybody else has a nationality around here. So I'm claiming. I don't care if I get nothing. I'm still claiming. I don't care if I don't get a mansion. I don't care if I live in a cardboard box out there. I'm still claiming that I'm a Moor. That's why I'm claiming. I can't talk for anybody else. And I can't expect anybody else to claim because of what my claim is. I'm speaking for myself, saying that I'm a Moor. I claimed. The reason why I claimed, because I'm not being Negro, black, colored. And I'm not going to be assumed to be that. I'm a Moor. And if I'm a Moor, I'm good to go. I'm good to go if I'm a Moor. That's just me. I ain't speaking for anybody else out there. People talk about, well, you said it. That means that everybody you know feels that way too. No. You got to ask them personally why they claimed. So what are we going to do about it? Do about what exactly? It is vague. Like, do about what? What is it? What is it? Yeah, these people, it's tourist season. These people forgot it's only horns you're getting right now. So you play whatever you want to play. You're getting it right now, regardless what it is. You made it to Taurus season. Good luck getting to Gemini. Good luck getting to Gemini. Honors to all the Moors worldwide. Honors to all you Moors. All you Moors who know that you're Moors, and you know why. and it's not a question, you know why. You know why you proclaimed honors to you. You know why you're El Day and all that right now. No honors to you for knowing. Honors to you for seeking. All you seekers out there, two in the back. Right, two in the back. If you got questions, ask them in all caps. Honest to all the Moors. We got a couple minutes left. If you have any last questions, put them in all caps in the chat. Oh, and anybody who asks questions, were your questions answered? If your questions weren't answered and Aseer couldn't answer your questions, then you got issues. I don't know how much more you need than Aseer. And then after him, you still get more and still confused. You might have to accept that you're not gonna get it. This is not for you. You could play around with it if you want. You know, you can dibble and dabble. You know, if you want to. Right. Right. Again, if you have questions, ask it in all caps. No question is going to be answered if it's not in all caps. This is about
Islam. So I don't know what the hell happened, but there was some type of damn power outage or something. So internet, everything's shut down right now. So that's what that big gap was right there. Yeah, they had a power outage. So we're off this. So will your questions got answered? If not, if not, we apologize. Doing the best we could do though. Yeah, we're not really back. There's no power. So conserve this battery right here. Honors to all the Moors worldwide. Honors to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Peace and love to all the Moors. Don't forget, give yourself a pat on the back. And if your question was not answered, then sorry. I don't know what to tell you. Because there's no way that Aseer could answer your question and you're still confused. There's no way. You have some issues that you need to go check within yourself. Because there's no way that you could say your question is not answered. There's no way. It's impossible. Peace and love to all the Moors. Honors to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Honors to all the Moors in the chat. Honors to all the mothers. Peace and love to all. Islam.